for joining us. Today we have Lael presenting a MetaGeek webinar. If you have any questions, please input them in the question box and Lael will answer them at the conclusion of the webinar. At this time, I'm going to let Lael take over, and I hope everybody enjoys the presentation. Lael, you got it? We can't hear you. No, we can't hear you, Lael. If everybody can just sit tight for a minute, I'm not sure what's going on, but we're working on it.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Wonderful, yes.
Okay, good. I switched to, it's going to be on my monitor, so it may be a little echoey like speakerphone. I apologize.
Not a problem. Take it away.
Okay. Well, good morning, everybody. Sorry about that technical difficulty. My name is Lael with MetaGeek, and I work in channel sales. So I train our partners, and I conduct webinars for partners like Microcom. So today I'll be taking you through one of our best-selling products, the WiFi and Channelizer product family. And as I do that, to help you get an understanding of what WiFi and Channelizer do, I'm going to take you through just basic Wi-Fi troubleshooting because it'll get you situated to hear exactly how Wi-Fi and Channelizer solve those problems. So if you know about the problems that exist, it's easier to see how Wi-Fi and Channelizer help solve those problems. So today, just like I said, I'll be talking about Wi-Fi and Channelizer. That's the middle bullet down. To get you kind of situated as to what MetaGeek makes, though, we have three sort of branches, product lines. The first is Insider Office plus Wi-Fi Mini, which is an SMB solution for essentially enterprise Wi-Fi scanning. So it's a good, quick snapshot of what's going on in your Wi-Fi network. And the Wi-Fi Mini hardware adds in a little bit of spectrum intelligence. So you can see, using your Wi-Fi NIC in your laptop, you can see what's going on with all of the like the APs in your area, and then Wi-Fi Mini scans the spectrum to give you some more intelligence about how healthy each channel is. Essentially, it rates each channel. Jumping down to the bottom bullet point, IPA is our packet analysis solution. So you import packet captures into IPA, and there are interactive multi-layer pie charts that organize data really well to kind of visually organize packet traffic for humans to understand easier rather than just layers or tables and tables of data. And then so what we'll be talking about today is the middle one, Wi-Fi Channelizer. That's spectrum analysis. So there's packet analysis and spectrum analysis for the first couple layers of Wi-Fi troubleshooting. We always recommend to start at the spectrum, which is the physical layer. So I won't spend too much time on this slide, but basically just trying to get the point across that Wi-Fi is business critical, and that's why MetaGeek is in business, because Wi-Fi is mysterious and wonderful, and when it breaks, it's horrible because it's invisible. So our products basically let you see the invisible because you can't fix something until you can visualize it. If Wi-Fi is suffering, it's a pain for everybody. Customer satisfaction goes down. Security, of course, when you run your business highly around Wi-Fi and around electronic transmit of information, it's very important that the Wi-Fi is up and running. So that's why we're in business. We want to make your Wi-Fi awesome and then keep it awesome and help you fix it as quickly as possible when it breaks. So Wi-Fi, just a quick primer. Some of you may know this already. Wi-Fi lives in two bands, the 2.4 gigahertz band and the 5 gigahertz band. And when I say band, that's a section, a frequency section of the electromagnetic spectrum. 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi is the older, quote-unquote, Wi-Fi, and much of the world is actually still on 2.4 gigahertz. It's only in mostly first world countries, and not even all the first world countries, is 5 gigahertz deployed. It's a newer technology. People don't understand it as well as 2.4 gigahertz, and the actual hardware around 5 gigahertz is newer, so it's slowly being adopted, not as fast as we would like, of course. We are Wi-Fi evangelists. We like to extol the virtues of 5 gigahertz. You do need more APs because the range is shorter, but that's good because you can keep your cell sizes small and eliminate interference between APs. The characteristics that we'll be talking about in this webinar, though, are the interference characteristics of each band. So in the 2.4 gigahertz band, you have a 100 megahertz wide band. You have 11 channels, and each channel is between about 20 and 22 megahertz wide. So let's say roughly 20. If you have 11 channels, they're each 20 megahertz wide, you need about 220 megahertz to fit them all in there. However, you only have 100 megahertz, so you have to cram them all in there, and they overlap with each other. 11 channels overlapping with each other. There's only 3 channels that don't overlap: channel 1, channel 6, and 11. And in some countries you'll have channel 14, but it just depends on the country. In the United States, 1, 6, and 11 are the main non-overlapping channels. In 5 gigahertz, you have 24 non-overlapping channels, which is another great thing about 5 gigahertz. You have a higher data rate since the frequency is faster. It's 5 billion hertz as opposed to 2.4 billion hertz. But you do have the lower indoor range, which can be good. Like I said, keep your cell size small. Both 2.4 and 5 gigahertz have their advantages. And we recommend both in almost every Wi-Fi deployment. So why is there interference in Wi-Fi? I'll compare it to the old way of deploying the internet, which is Ethernet or Cat5 cables. In an Ethernet cable, it's like a two-way street. Information can be transmitted, or it can be sent, and it can be received at the same time. In Wi-Fi, you're using the air as a medium. So the device that's receiving a signal has to listen. It just has to kind of, listen until it gets a signal, and then it acknowledges that it's received a signal, and then it will send data back, etc. So it goes from the access point on the right, or the station, to the client on the left, so the laptop. So it goes sending data, client acknowledges, client sends data, AP acknowledges, data ACK, back and forth. But only one of them can take place at once because the antenna can either transmit or receive, not both. That's why Wi-Fi has so many rules governing it. It needs protocols to make sure a lot of people aren't talking at once, and by people I mean devices, aren't talking at once, and that everyone is listening and sharing the air. Half duplex is what we call that. It's just to express the concept that data can only be transmitted or received, but not both simultaneously. Half duplex gets complicated when you're using an AP with several clients, which is almost all of the time nowadays. If it was between one AP and one client and you were out in the middle of nowhere, your Wi-Fi would probably be great and nothing would ever. Oh, and if you also didn't have any other wireless devices, if it was just you and your client and your AP in a cave, there was nothing else. But most people nowadays have at least. I'm just looking at my desk right now. I have like 4 different wireless devices, and even more that are, or 4 different Wi-Fi devices, even more that are not Wi-Fi but wireless, like wireless mice, or in a home you might have a baby monitor or an Xbox controller or a Bluetooth transmitter. It gets really complicated when there's several devices that are trying to talk to one AP. And that's why Wi-Fi has such strict rules governing who gets the airtime, how do you share the air, who gets to go next, special ways of essentially getting the clients to queue up in a line and wait for their turn to transmit. So because of this, maybe not because of it, but in addition to the half duplex problem, you have you have interference basically that happens when there's more than one device and an AP, or more than one AP in a situation, which is almost always. 3 types of interference that you should know about, and all 3 of these types you will encounter in the 2.4 gigahertz band. In 5 gigahertz band you'll only encounter 2 of them, and I'll explain that. So the adjacent channel interference is the first type, and that's the type that you'll find only in the 2.4 gigahertz band. This is when 2 APs, for example, are on the channels next to each other, just like this graph shows. They're not on the same, I like to say on the same page, speaking on the same language. If they're on the same channel, they can hear each other. If they're on different channels, they can't hear each other as fellow Wi-Fi devices. They can only hear each other as noise. So they try and talk over each other, and that will interrupt your signal. I'm going to shoot all the way over to the right for co-channel interference next. That's when 2 devices are on the same channel, just like the picture shows. There is still some contention, which is just the term that you use to describe 2 devices competing for the same airspace, but it's friendly contention. They both are on the same page because they're on the same channel. They can hear each other as Wi-Fi devices, and they sort of, I'm personifying these, but they sort of respect each other as Wi-Fi devices, so they'll wait their turn, they'll be polite with each other. And that's better than adjacent channel interference, because adjacent channel, they're both just trying to talk as loud as they can. The middle type of interference, which is what Wi-Spy just excels at, is non-Wi-Fi interference detection. So this is any kind of device that is not a Wi-Fi device, but it's transmitting in the Wi-Fi space. The Wi-Fi bands are unlicensed bands, so anyone can transmit there, whether you're a Wi-Fi device or not a Wi-Fi device. And this is the type, since it's not Wi-Fi, your computer's Wi-Fi card cannot see it if you pull up a Wi-Fi scanner, for example. And you have to have a special piece of hardware to scan the RF spectrum. And that's what Wi-Spy does. It doesn't care, when it scans, it doesn't care if it's a Wi-Fi or a non-Wi-Fi device, it's going to show it to you on Channelizer. So that's the first step of fixing it, is essentially being able to see it. I'm going to skip this slide. We talked about it earlier. This is another visualization of the 3 different types of interference. We have co-channel, adjacent channel, and non-Wi-Fi. Co-channel, all the same color. Although they're, like I said, although there's still friendly contention, they're at least all polite to each other and they'll all respect the rules of the AP. Adjacent channel interference, they're all trying to talk over each other. And non-Wi-Fi interference, the non-Wi-Fi devices do not even care that there are Wi-Fi devices trying to talk in this space. They'll just go ahead and broadcast what they're doing. They don't respect the rules of Wi-Fi because they're not governed by them. They're just wireless devices. 5 gigahertz interference I talked about earlier. You won't be affected by adjacent channel because there are 24 non-overlapping channels in the 5 gigahertz spectrum. Maybe years down the line when they're all full, it'll become like the 2.4 gigahertz where you have to compete for space. But as of now, there's so much empty space in the 5 gigahertz band that you won't encounter adjacent channel interference. But you do still have to deal with co-channel interference because co-channel is kind of, you know, the rules of half duplex where everyone has to wait their turn. They can transmit and then they have to wait and then they can receive and vice versa. You also deal with non-Wi-Fi interference, which is any device transmitting in that band that isn't a Wi-Fi device. Top part of this slide is just showing the different types of interference or congestion. Open channel on the very right-hand side is the best, but that will almost never happen. That would be if you and your AP and your smartphone were in a cave or out in the middle of nowhere. There was nothing else happening. Then you have an open channel. Adjacent channel is the worst because they treat each other as noise. Co-channel is pretty much the lesser of all the evils because open channel is not really a possibility. They all respect each other. They're on the same page, the same channel, and then they talk and they play nice together. With non-Wi-Fi interference, the best thing you can do is avoid it, but you can't avoid it until you can see it. So when you see it in Wi-Fi or in Channelizer using the Wi-Fi hardware, I'll show you in the next slide. If your AP is right on top of a source of interference, you change channels in the AP. And that's just basic interference avoidance. So this is what interference avoidance looks like in Channelizer. If you see over on the right, that's a screenshot from Channelizer, and that tabletop shape is a MetaGeek AP on channel 5, which we wouldn't do in real life because it's not one of the 3 non-overlapping channels. Let's see, there's a Wi-Fi or a non-Wi-Fi source of interference, probably some kind of camera that's bright red, which is red is bad in Channelizer, or red is very, very loud, and so it will cause a lot of trouble if it's transmitting, if your AP is right over the top of that, which it is in this case. So what you do is move the MetaGeek GN AP to a different channel. Interference avoidance with a spectrum analyzer, which is Channelizer. It helps you, avoid Wi-Fi channel overlap, because not only can you see non-Wi-Fi devices, but you can see Wi-Fi devices because Channelizer will also pull data from your Wi-Fi NIC. So you can see all of the channel or all of the APs that are in the area, which channel they're on, if your selected AP is overlapping with them or not. Get faster data rates by avoiding, the adjacent channel interference, which is the worst kind, avoiding non-Wi-Fi interference, which you can only see with a spectrum analyzer, and it improves your performance overall. So what kind of devices cause interference? These are the usual suspects, as we like to say, very common sources. Down in the lower left, you'll see a landline, a landline 2.4 gigahertz wireless phone, which I imagine not a lot of people have anymore, but some of you still do. Any kind of wireless device that's not Wi-Fi. Security cameras are a big issue that you can't see unless you have a spectrum analyzer. Microwaves are a big one. If you're at in a break room and your Wi-Fi drops out at noon every day, it could be the microwaves that all get turned on and are blasting in the 2.4 gigahertz spectrum and messing with your signal. But you can't see that unless you have a spectrum analyzer. These are some of the unusual suspects of the stuff that you wouldn't necessarily think about but still is transmitting in the wireless spectrums. Smart home devices, smart technology, the Internet of Things. This printer is a Wi-Fi printer, baby monitor, anything with either that is Wi-Fi capable or that's wireless capable but not governed by the rules of Wi-Fi. All these things you can see with Wi-Fi and Channelizer. So the main things that Wi-Fi and Channelizer do is it helps find and identify RF interference. So that can be the 3 types I talked about: adjacent, or co-channel, or non-Wi-Fi. It can see all 3 types. And your US or your Wi-Fi NIC can only see co-channel or adjacent channel, and that's if you have some kind of Wi-Fi scanning software. You can identify the best channels, the clearest channels, just using the different views in Channelizer. It's very obvious. If there's lots of color there, you want to avoid it. If it's clear or black, or in outdoor mode, if it's white, depending on which mode you're in, those are more open channels. With the Report Builder accessory, which I'll talk about in just a minute, you can document and report your findings. You don't have to take clunky screenshots and talk a bunch about them. You can just export your findings very neatly and push them out to Report Builder. This will just basically allow you to, in general, optimize your wireless network. Find the clearest channel, get the highest throughput. So WiSpy itself is the hardware of the WiSpy and Channelizer solution. WiSpy DBX is the best seller. DBX just means dual band. X means external antenna. You'll see the external antenna sticking straight up. It can scan the 2.4 or the 5 gigahertz band. It can do either one, and you can switch back and forth in Channelizer. The WiSpy 2.4X is a little bit lower price point, but it does only scan the 2.4 gigahertz band. Very useful tool, but if you're only concerned with 2.4 gigahertz, it may be right for you. I'd recommend the DBX because most people are moving toward 5 gigahertz. WiSpy Mini, I won't talk about as much, but that is the hardware that goes with inside our office. That's that enterprise Wi-Fi scanner that I talked about at the beginning of the webinar. And it's just for inside our office. Small form factor, plugs in, gives you some spectrum intelligence about the 2.4 gigahertz spectrum. And all of these, the WiSpy DBX and Channelizer both, or WiSpy DBX and WiSpy 2.4X both require Channelizer. So Channelizer is the software that goes with the hardware. They both need each other. With Channelizer, you can't scan, you need the hardware. And then with WiSpy, you can't visualize without the software. So with Channelizer, you'll see everything all the information that you can get from your wireless NIC, which is all the Wi-Fi specific intelligence. All the data about the APs in the area, the SSID, what channel it's on, the RSSI, the security type, MAC address, vendor or manufacturer, and the type of network it is. And you can check and uncheck different networks to show or hide them depending on if you care about them or not, if you want to see if you are interfering with a specific neighboring device. You can also filter by device name if you're in a busy area and you have a ton of Cisco APs, for example, and you just want to look at them. You type Cisco into the filter and it'll bring just those up. So some really nice filtering features with seeing the APs in your area. You can see utilization by color, which is pretty awesome and very intuitive. We're all in the business of building intuitive visualization software, essentially. So color by utilization, you'll see on the very bottom, it's basically color-coded by how often a device is talking. So red is very, very frequent, blue is not as frequent, and black or white, depending on the mode you're in, is just very clear channel. There's a waterfall navigation, which allows you to, it's basically kind of like a seismograph that you'd see. It allows you to click back through time during the time of your survey and see interesting points in the spectrum. So if you see a burst of red, and that was like 5 minutes ago, you can click back there and then look at it in the different types of views and see what was happening with the spectrum. The bottom 3 bullets I'll talk about briefly. You can locate signals with Device Finder, which is a hardware accessory that I'll talk about. You can connect to a Cisco Clean Air IP, which is a software accessory I will talk about. And lastly, create customer reports, which is a really, really useful tool for documenting your findings. Report Builder accessory, just talked about. Oops, excuse me. Okay. Report Builder allows you to take any findings that you have in any part of Channelizer, regardless of what view it's in, whether it's a data table, whether it's notes that you've made. A new feature we just released is notes. You can click any part of the waterfall view and add a note, which is incredible. It's awesome. It was a highly requested feature that we just recently implemented. And so all new purchases will ship with this feature. And it allows you to, if you have any notes that you took that you clicked throughout the survey, you can export those to the report builder. You can add your own logo. You can use prefab explainer text that MetaGeek has written, so it explains what's going on in each type of view. Or you can, modify and add your own text. And it exports it to a nice PDF that's a great deliverable either for your boss at your company or for your client to verify installation, establish a baseline. Here's what we saw, here's what we didn't see. Don't blame us if this goes wrong because it was fine when we were here. That essentially, the CYA type of thing. Or just for your own records to kind of remind yourself of what was going on the last time you visited a client, so the next time you rolled a truck, you come in informed. The lab accessory is a handy little tool also that allows you to get really geeky with your Wi-Fi. It allows you to change the hardware settings and add different amplitude markers and kind of just configure it exactly how you want. This isn't necessarily something that you would need for a general Wi-Fi survey, but it's a really handy tool in the lab if you want to play with the Wi-Fi and customize it to scan exactly how you want. Cisco Clean Air accessory lets you have the ability to connect to a Cisco Clean Air AP and then troubleshoot remotely. So Wi-Fi is great for troubleshooting mobilely. You're walking around and it basically gives you a view of the spectrum from the client's perspective, so from your laptop's perspective. If you want to get a view from the AP's perspective, you connect, it's just an internet connection with the Cisco Clean Air enabled AP, and you can view Channelizer using the spectrum data from the AP, which is pretty neat. Device Finder Directional Antenna is the last accessory. It's a hardware accessory. It's a directional antenna versus the omnidirectional that is stock included with your Wi-Fi. It allows you to track down mystery devices. So if you have something that you're having a hard time finding, you plug in or you screw the device finder onto the top of the Wi-Fi, and you just walk around with it and you pretty much play a game of hot and cold. The bouncing line over in the lower right lets you know how close you're getting to the transmitting device by tracking the received signal. That's a hardware accessory as well. All three of these accessories are add-ons. The base unit is Wi-Fi plus Channelizer, and then the lab accessory, Cisco Clean Air accessory, Device Finder hardware accessory, and Report Builder software accessory are all either additional licenses or the Device Finder additional hardware that you can purchase from Microcom to kind of flesh out your toolkit and really purchase, mix and match exactly what you need. So that's the end of my webinar. I wanted to leave a few more minutes for questions, but got about 2 minutes here. Thank you very much for attending, and I'll take any questions at this time.
All right. Thank you, Lael. That was great. Let me pull up the question. All right. Okay. First question is actually from one of our sales team. How do you suggest or what, one second. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm getting this question in office.
No problem.
As a account manager, how do you suggest you target your items, or what kind of?
Yeah, I would recommend, depending on the type of customer, we sell to system integrators and installers, or the enterprise, like resident IT people in like a campus setting or an enterprise setting. So it depends on the type, but I would really just pitch it as, like if it's an installer, for example, during a Wi-Fi deployment, you can either, one of our friends in the WLAN space likes to say, when you're deploying Wi-Fi, you can either pay now or pay later. So you can deploy, or you can take a pre-deployment survey, include Wi-Fi and Channelizer in that survey to get a really good picture of what's going on with the spectrum, and mitigate any sources of interference. And you can purchase the Wi-Fi and Channelizer solution at the beginning to make sure you've mitigated all the interference, or you can wait until it's an emergency situation and people are upset and their Wi-Fi is down and everyone is pissed, and then you can buy it. So we recommend really having them purchase it at the outset, because you know that you'll have a clean deployment, and verifying your deployment using Wi-Fi and Channelizer. In a campus setting, it's a good way to find if there are any sources of interference in the classroom or in an administration building. It's basically just like the first level of troubleshooting your Wi-Fi. It's just looking at what's going on, where all the APs are located, if there's any interference happening, if the APs are talking way too loud over each other. It's just kind of like I pitch it as a pay now or pay later type thing. It's really an affordable solution for its space. The other competitors in this space are much more than MetaGeek solutions are, and it's something that really has a lot of bang for its buck, because especially in an enterprise deployment, you're dealing with APs themselves that are about $1,000, and so you don't want to deploy those incorrectly, because it'll be so expensive later, and there'll be angry customers later. Deploy it now, have it as part of your toolkit, and then you can get a clean deployment the first time.
Perfect. Thank you, Lael. Yes, they said that was really great feedback, so I just wanted to let you know. Okay. All right. Next question. What do your products have that give you an edge over competitors?
I think the biggest one that customers notice at the offset is price point, honestly. And it's very simple. Everyone has a laptop. And it's just the only hardware you need is the small USB dongle. We also have really great, oh, my screensaver just went on. Hang on just a second. We have really great visualizations that are intuitive. I think they're more intuitive than many, excuse me, that allow you to not spend a lot of time learning the product, but once you kind of get the idea, you kind of learn the color coding, then you can just intuitively go from there. Humans are very good at recognizing color. We're not as good when we have to read something. There's kind of that, there's that test going around the internet, I don't know what it's called, where you see a word that's a color, like you see the word yellow, but it's written in red. It's very, very hard for you to read the word yellow, but it's easy for you to identify the color red. We kind of piggyback off of that concept. We're very color oriented because it's easy to recognize, and we don't want our customers to have to learn, take a lot of time learning this product, because often they pull it out of the box on site and they need to know it quickly. So we'll have them watch a couple videos, read through the user guide, and they're set to go. So I'd say ease of use, price point, mobility.
Fantastic. All right, it looks like one last question. Will you be attending any upcoming trade shows where we can view your products in person?
I don't think we'll be attending any that I know of. I think let's see, we have two guys attending the CEDIA conference, and that they're actually teaching a class. So I think they'll be using some Wi-Fi product or some MetaGeek products, but they're teaching some Wi-Fi fundamentals classes. And I believe that our head of sales, Stoney, will be attending a conference in I want to say the Netherlands coming up. But I'll check, and I will let our Microcom team know. I'll let you know, Crystal, or someone at Microcom know if we have anything coming up. So contact Microcom for follow-up on that question.
Perfect. All right. Well, that's all the questions. So thank you, Lael, as always. fantastic job. Thank you everybody who attended. I hope everybody found it very informative. If you have any additional questions, in addition to contacting Lael, you can contact us at sales@microcomtech.com, MICROCOMTEC. Or if you wish to view any of the products mentioned here today, please visit us at www.microcom.us or contact your salesperson. This webinar will also be posted on Microcom Technologies' YouTube channel for later review. I hope everybody has a wonderful day.
Thanks very much.